Page 116, Why Am I Blue? At the top of the page, they're introducing syncopated notes. A syncopated note is simply a note that is either played when you don't expect a note to be played, or there is no note when you do expect a note. That's syncopation. That's throwing the rhythm off, to throw you on edge. It's been used for hundreds of years. Lots of composers. Beethoven used syncopation a lot. As an example, let's just take a look at the beginning of this piece. In the right hand, in the first measure, it starts right off. You have these eighth notes. Now if I play the eighth notes without the tie, I just play all the notes in it. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. No big deal, right? But if I put in the tie, it kind of throws things off a little. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's like there should be another note and there isn't. You're expecting another one to finish it, but that's it. That's all you get. So this piece has syncopations all over the place. Look at the last two measures in the first line. Starts out the same as the first measure, and then we're here. And then the last two eighth notes cross over to the F sharp, and then the F natural. I'm just pointing it out because it can be a little tricky fingering your thumb. It's second line, second measure. Now you got B flats. It's like it was before, except now the B's are flatted in the measure. The third measure, same thing, B flats throughout. And then on the third line, you finally have B natural again. Remember in accidentals, the accidental applies from that point to the rest of the measure. Well, in the second line, like in the last measure, that B flat makes all the rest of the B's in that measure flat. Same thing in the last line. First measure, it's a B flat, which makes all the B's in the measure flat. The last measure at the bottom, in the right hand, 2 eighth notes. The thumb is playing the lower notes, you're just sliding off. It's fine. But it's the upper notes we want, so we're using 4 and 5 to connect them. Takes a little practice to coordinate sliding off a note at the right time, because we want the notes to sound at the same time. So we may have to work on that. The left hand just has chords. Big deal. But I want to talk about putting the two hands together, especially in the last measure of the piece. You have a chord on beat 1, eighth notes for beat 2, and then another chord in the left hand on beat 3. You're holding the right hand down, so it's 1, 2, and 3, 4. So be careful on that one. That fermata I'm going to hold for 4 counts instead of 2. As far as the road map goes, you got first and second endings at the bottom. So you're going to play it all down to the first ending, repeat back to the top and play it again, and the second time you do second ending. We'll talk a little bit about the Roman numerals underneath the staff. There you see a capital I, that's a Roman numeral 1. It's referring you to the chord number for the key we're in. In other words, this is in the key of G major, has 1 sharp, and it's saying at the beginning that you're playing a 1 chord, which happens to be a G chord, right? In the second line, second measure, now you're playing a 4 chord. We're getting back to the primary chords, 1, 4, 5, 7 chords. That's all you're playing in the left hand here, and they're pointing out to you where they are. And the third line, last measure, is the 5-7 chord. Last line, first measure, 4 chord, 1 chord, 5-7 chord. Now this is a blues piece. Why am I blue? It is a blues style. And as such, we want to play it in a blues style. Blues, swing, and jazz. Well, pretty much the same type of interpretation. When you have eighth notes, you play them in a long, short fashion. You swing the eighth notes, or we could say you rock the eighth notes. Call it what you want. The point is it's going to be long, short, long, short. So when I play, I need second line, well, the whole second line, okay, because that's all eighth notes pretty much in the right hand. So it's written this way. Right? But for a blues style, or swing or jazz, we rock them. It's this way. It's a long, ba-ba, ba-ba type thing. And you just automatically do it. There's nothing in the music that's going to tell you to do it. It's just, if it's a blues piece or a swing piece or a jazz piece, just do it. And it's only the eighth notes. So we're going to rock the eighth notes in this piece. Now, as far as the pedal goes, it's going to work similar to the way we've been doing it earlier in the book. You'll push the pedal down right after you play the note. You'll lift the pedal up right before the next phrase, so we get a little silence between the phrases, and that's really all it is. It's pretty simple on pedaling. At the end, the last measure, you will lift the pedal up right before you play the eighth notes, or when you can, actually in this case, you can lift it up when you play the eighth notes. We don't need silence. And then you'll push it down right after you play the left hand half note. Hold it for 4 counts, and then the pedal and the hands all come up at the same time. So having said all that stuff, let's try this out. So in 4/4 time, I'll give us 4 counts, we'll come in together. Okay, we're starting in G position, I guess. Foot's on the pedal, here we go. 1, 2, ready, and go, and.